Just a reminder, guys, we talked yesterday. What is a CER? Remember, a CER is a framework that you'll use to write essays in your science classes here at Howard. C stands for claim, E stands for evidence, and R stands for reasoning. I want you to remember, guys, that whenever you're asked a question on a CER, even though you're going to write your claim first, before you write your claim, you want to look at your evidence. Whenever we do a CER, guys, there's going to be evidence that I provide you that you need to look at, analyze, and from that evidence, make your claim. Okay, so keep that in mind. But you'll write claim, evidence, reasoning. And your goal, remember, is to convince the reader of your position using evidence. So try to convince the reader, use evidence, use reasoning in order to do it. To learn how this format works, guys, yesterday we did an example together. This should look familiar. We made a claim, evidence, and reasoning for that one. What I asked you to do yesterday was get started writing a CER of your own. What I want you to do, guys, before you finish this video is get started on the CER with the prompt that's on your paper. And then once you're done, go back and check to make sure you did the right types of things. Remember, there's not one right way to do this, but I'm just going to go through one possible way you could have done this. So pause the video, write it yourself, and then start the video again. So the prompt, guys, is Kevin, a biology student, says, the law of conservation of matter is supported by the photosynthesis and cell respiration cycle. Below, construct an argument as to whether or not you agree with Kevin. Then use evidence and reasoning to support your claim. Your CER should be 10 to 12 complete sentences. So what we're trying to decide, guys, is this true? Is the law of conservation of matter supported by the photosynthesis and cell respiration cycle? Well, first off, let's think. What is the law of conservation of matter? The law of conservation of matter is matter cannot be created or destroyed, right? It can't just come out of nowhere. It can only ever come from another piece of matter. So the evidence I'm giving you, you have to gather evidence from these two things. So let's look at the evidence before we make our claim. So let's say maybe we're not sure what the answer is to this question, but looking at the evidence will help us come to an answer. So at the top, you're going to see the balanced equation for photosynthesis. You'll note that it's carbon dioxide plus water produces sugar and oxygen. But how many carbons do we have on the product side over here? We have 6. That means we need 6 carbons on this side too, right? Because matter can't be created or destroyed. Those carbons don't come out of nowhere. They got to come from something over here. How many carbons are on this side? 6. How many hydrogens are on this side? Well, 6 times 2, so 12 hydrogens over here. How many on this side? 12 hydrogens. Just goes to show matter is not being created or destroyed, right? It's just, it's being changed, it's being rearranged. The same thing, what you start with is also what you end with. And the same would be true of the cell respiration equation as well. Evidence 2, you're seeing, guys, think back to the radish seed lab. You have 3 jars, the mass at the beginning of a closed system. You can think maybe the radish seeds are growing, and then you measure the mass at the end, and it's the same. That seems to support the law of conservation of energy too, right? Because even though things are changing, like it's using photosynthesis, it's going through cell respiration, things like that, at the end of the day, the mass itself is staying the same. There's nothing being created or destroyed. It's the same mass, same matter from the beginning as there is at the end, though change is happening within the closed container. So I think based on the evidence, guys, I think we can say that yes, cell respiration, photosynthesis, and that cycle that we see in our radish seed lab support the law of conservation of matter. They support the fact that matter is not created or destroyed. This doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from other matter, right? So in order to write this, I'm going to start by writing a claim. My claim needs to answer the question in one complete sentence and not be wishy-washy. I need to choose a side. I can't just say, like, I think anything's right. Let's look at our question again. It says, construct an argument as to whether or not you agree with Kevin. So we have to say, do we agree with the fact that Kevin said the law of conservation of matter is supported by the photosynthesis and cell respiration cycle? Yes, I think we do agree, right? So my claim could be something like, I agree with Kevin that photosynthesis is supported by the cell respiration and photosynthesis cycle. Super simple, one sentence answers the question. Is it one complete sentence? Yes. Did I answer the question? Yes. Is it not wishy-washy? Yes. Also, did I restate the question? Yeah, I just reworded it, right? Assume the person hasn't read the question. You're just writing it from the beginning. Made a claim. Now I need to use evidence. So evidence will always be things I've given you, normally numbers or data, just objective things, right? It's not your own opinion. You won't say, like, well, I think this is true because plants are green, right? That doesn't matter. So now let's move on to our evidence page and see what we got. It says evidence must be data, be specific and clear, and include number, data points, and trends. So I've given you the evidence to work from, right? So here we see that the reactants have 6 carbons and the products have 6 carbons. That's right there. The reactants in the photosynthesis reaction have 6 carbons. carbons, the products in the photosynthesis reaction have 6 carbons. Let's find another piece of evidence. Let's have at least 2 pieces of evidence. In this one, we look right here. The mass at the beginning is the same as the mass at the end, right? There. So let's put in a closed jar experiment. Mass of the system beginning is the same as the mass at the end. I just took 2 objective, means like it's not opinion, it's just straight out of the evidence given to me to get evidence. So 1, same number of carbons on both sides, and 2, in the closed jar experiment, the mass of the system at the beginning is the same as the mass at the end. It's data, meaning it's from a graph table model experiment. It's not opinion, specific and clear. And it includes trends. So I didn't actually use numbers. However, I guess I did use some numbers up here. It could be even better if I said what the mass was at the beginning and the end of that experiment to include some numbers in there, some numerical data. All right, so let's go back to our prompt. So do we agree with this? Law of conservation of matter supported by the photosynthesis cell respiration cycle. We have our claim. I agree with Kevin. We have our evidence. The reactants in photosynthesis reaction have 6 carbons. The products have 6 carbons. In the closed jar experiment, the mass of the system at the beginning is the same as the mass at the end. Now, reasoning, guys, I need to explain my evidence. I need to explain how my evidence supports my claim. So the first evidence we gave, it says the reactants in the photosynthesis reaction have 6 carbons. The products have 6 carbons. So let's write why that affects us, right? So we could say because both the products, both the reactants and products have 6 carbons, that shows that matter is not being created from nowhere. Starts a reaction. I'm going to rephrase it actually. The atoms that start the reaction are the same as the atoms that end it, right? That's the law of conservation of matter, right? Matter is not created or destroyed. Second piece of reasoning. Second piece of reasoning about the mass, right? We said in the closed jar experiment, the mass of the system at the beginning is the same as the mass at the end. We'd say the fact that the mass closed jar experiment stayed the same shows that mass/matter cannot be created. True. Nothing was added, taken away from the jar. Mass stayed the same. Right, so that's our reasoning, right? It's pretty simple. Like claimed, 1 sentence, evidence, give like 2 pieces of evidence, and reasoning, explain how the evidence supports the claim. Explain how the evidence supports the claim. Does our reasoning tell the reader how the evidence supports the claim? Yes. Does it explain yourself to a person who doesn't understand the topic at all? I think so. And does it include key vocabulary like carbon, reactant, product, photosynthesis? Yes, it includes key vocabulary and stuff within this unit, so we're in good shape. Guys, hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Make sure when we do the performance task, you're going to be responsible for writing a CER of your own. So if you need further help in understanding how CERs work or how you know what the C, the E, and the R is, make sure you contact Mr. Filsick before the performance test begins. Thanks, guys, and you can go ahead and submit this document.